Waldo, I want to go to sleep. I'm sleepy, I told him. I hung up the phone, then turned it off and went back to sleep. The sound of the air conditioner was like a sleeping pill, and I was overdosing. Waldo looked at the phone, then sat it on his lap. She still loves me, he said to himself. Waldo looked to his left, and he saw Hugo and Abe having sex in the tent. Tamika and Allison, both naked on top of them. Waldo stood and decided to invite himself to their fun. When he got to the tent, he pushed his way in and collapsed between Hugo and Abe, and they were furious. Tamika and Allison had screamed. They grabbed their clothes and ran toward the darker end of the beach. Oh, and I got caught on the page again. Okay, I'm down to 14 minutes. As soon as I can get this page, we can get on with this story. How is this happening? Okay. So they could dress. Hugo had rushed to pull his pants up as Abe stood with his hanging out. Dude, what the F is wrong with you? Abe yelled, mad as a hatter. You stupid bendejo, he added. He turned around and zipped up his pants. Hugo sat up, staring at Waldo. He was happy that he'd spoiled their orgy. He wouldn't be the only one now, not getting any. His hands were his face, and he laughed, and he put his hands to his face and laughed and laughed. Abe was furious. He kicked Waldo in the leg. He wanted to punch him, but what he wanted more was to finish what he started with Tamika. He took off down the beach looking for her. Hugo stood up, following his cousin. Just because E is gone, don't excuse the fact that you're a lonely ass fuck. You're real fucking stupid, Waldo. Hugo left him there and caught up with Abe as he coerced Tamika to finish what they had started. This time, the four of them walked into an RV that belonged to a neighbor of Eddie's father that was run down. It didn't even have a door on it, and they finished what Waldo had interrupted. Waldo stayed where he was and closed his eyes. Not even 5 minutes later, a drunk girl everyone called Red wandered over to the tent. She crawled inside beside Waldo, drunk as a skunk, and fell asleep. When Waldo woke up, about a half hour later, he thought she was Zia and rolled over wanting sex. He pulled his stuff out and began poking the girl in her back. He pulled her hair to the side and started licking her neck. The girl didn't move. She was comatose. Waldo didn't care. He wanted something in there. He pulled up her skirt and pulled her panties down just enough. He moved her legs open and went up inside her. Her eyes opened and she screamed. Waldo put his hands over her mouth and continued. Red was small, a lot shorter than Ia. She tried to fight, but it was too late. Waldo was raping her very roughly. Red was crying and screaming in pain beneath him. Waldo had become angry and rammed harder and harder, determined to break her. He wanted to break her down, to destroy her. He wanted to conquer her like he did Ia, so she would fear him and do everything he said. Red was scared. Waldo had gagged her mouth with a sock that probably belonged to one of the girls Hugo and Abe were with. He raped Red 4 more times in an hour. He also bit her breasts and put hickeys all over her neck. When he was finished, he got up and walked off. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks, sobering him to uncertain insanity. It was 3 a.m. when he found Abe and Hugo. They were coming out of the RV smiling, Tamika and Allison behind them. Waldo ran over to them. We gotta get out of here, yo. We gotta get out of here, Waldo shouted, his eyes wider than the moon. Yo, what's wrong with you? Calm down, the party isn't over, Abe answered. Waldo grabbed Hugo by the shoulders and stared him in the face. I'm not fucking kidding, yo. Get me the fuck out of here. Hugo walked Waldo away from the beach and the noise toward his car, more than 2 blocks away. What's your problem, yo? Hugo asked. I fucking raped someone, he answered in a panic. What the fuck you say? Hugo asked, his eyes too bulging out in disbelief. Waldo said it again. This time Hugo understood. That girl Red, the small, quiet one that was with Samantha, she came into the tent and fell asleep. I don't know why I thought it was Zia. I don't know why I wouldn't stop, Waldo explained. Hugo pushed him. In anger, deep inside had exploded, and Hugo had realized what he hated about Waldo, and he was tired of hiding it. What the fuck is wrong with you, yo? You're a fucking pussy. You beat on women, you raped them, the fuck is your problem? Hugo swung on Waldo, punched him in the face. He swung again and again till he was on top of Waldo, just wailing on his pretty face. Thoughts of Ia lying on the ground and him kicking the shit out of her plagued his mind. Who was he? And where did he get off putting his hands on women and now he was raping them? Abe ran over and pulled Hugo off of Waldo. Waldo's face looked like Ia's the other night. when he beat her. Yo, cuz, what's going on, yo? Abe asked his cousin. Him, that stupid motherfucker raped Red. Where the fuck is she? Hugo asked as he kicked him. Waldo, finally beat, rolled over and said in the tent. Abe and Hugo took off running toward the tent to help her. But when they got there, it was too late. Samantha was already there with about 10 other people holding her friend who was crying uncontrollably in her arms. Samantha looked Hugo in his eyes, his brother Eddie standing next to them. You'd better call the police. Your fucking friend is going to jail. Within 20 minutes, Hugo watched his best friend since elementary school get handcuffed and hauled off to jail by the Long Beach Police Department. The Long Island Police Department. The party had completely came to a stop. People stood in huddles and recounting where they were during the attack or if they may have heard something and ignored. The party of around 40 people quickly grew to about 100, with noisy neighbors coming outdoors to see about the commotion. Hugo stared at Waldo as the police car pulled off, his head leaning against the door window. He sat down on the curb as the police questioned him about Waldo and what happened. Hugo showed the police his knuckles from the fight after Waldo told him about what he did to Red. I don't get it, you know. I've known him my whole life. You think you know somebody. Hugo wiped a tear from his eyes. Detective Howard handed Hugo a card with his information on it. When Red walked past with Samantha, Hugo got up and walked over. I'm so sorry, yo. If I would have known, he spake with sincerity. Red nodded her head as Samantha and the EMTs helped her into the ambulance and pulled away. Abe found Lasso still passed out under the umbrella. He picked him up onto his shoulder like a test dummy and carried him to Hugo's car. I'm sorry. Okay. Lasso's eyes finally opened, only to be followed by vomit and coughing. He laid back on Hugo's backseat, cursing in and out of sleep. Hugo and Abe got into the car, very sober. What happened, yo? What the fuck happened? Hugo yelled, pounding on the steering wheel. Lasso cursed and mumbled, and rolled over on his side in the back seat. I don't know, Abe answered, just as confused himself. You saw him. We both saw him. We left his ass in the tent. How long was we with those girls? Like an hour? Yo, what the happened? Hugo's face had turned red and he couldn't stop the tears. Calm down, yo. Abe tried to calm his cousin down, but it didn't work. Calm down. What the fuck am I gonna do? He fucking raped somebody. He's fucking going to jail. I can't let that happen. Yo, what the fuck happened? Hugo pulled the car over and got out. He paced in front of his car trying to piece together some type of sanity. Inside, though, he knew Waldo was fucked up. He couldn't sit with the fact that his boy was going to prison, even if he deserved it. Abe, get out the car. Because we can't do nothing here. Nothing. There's nothing we can do. Yo, let's go home and see what we can do on Monday or tomorrow. Ain't shit we can do now. Can't nothing be done. Believe me. I know you think you're deserting him, but you're not Waldo. I know you think you're deserting him, but you're not. Waldo did that shit to himself. Who knows? It could be karma getting his ass for the stuff he did to Ia over the years. Listen, Hugo, I'm tired. Let's get the fuck out of here and go home. Hugo looked at his cousin and let the anger go. They got back in the car and headed back to Stanford. Okay, we're down to 6 minutes. I don't know how much I can get out of chapter 6. But I'm going to try to get a page or two. And then I'm going to cut it in for the night. Chapter 6. 1 year later. Amila cried in my arms. The little darling was spoiled. She hated when I sat with her. She was only content when we walked around. Yes, Lisa, I'm coming. As soon as she calms down, I explained, holding Amila in one arm and her diaper bag in the other. With my free hand, I grabbed the handle of her stroller and made my way to the garage. I ended up buying a condo in Danbury, Connecticut, a really nice place for only $275,000. I also bought a Chevy Traverse to carry around my new daughter and I. I was happy. My house was immaculately furnished, my fridge was full, my bank account was golden, and my closet full of brand new clothes. But no matter how blessed I felt, that July heat was unbearable. I gently laid Amila in her car seat and buckled her in, her yellow and white sundress light on her pretty rosy skin. She looked at me and smiled, a mirror image of her mother, and a head full of hair, but her eyes were all Waldo's. They were that honey-colored amber, lighter than hazel, and scared me a little. I hadn't spoken to Waldo or Hugo since I won the lottery. Waldo doesn't even know that he's a father. I texted my mom and told her I'd be over after I visited Lisa. Then I got into my SUV. I had fallen in love for the rest of my life. My life for the past year had been up and down, including a scary fall down my cellar stairs that sent me to the Danbury Hospital in dire concern. But all was fine. I watched her for a moment, looking around the car at the TV screen on the back of the seat, at the brown and black leather of the seats. I reached into the Coach diaper bag I brought for her and grabbed her pacifier and turned and gave it to her. Her tiny lips popped around it, and she settled, content in the car seat. I remote opened the garage door and headed out of the Knoll condoms on Crow's Nest Lane. I had lost 20 pounds after I had Amila, which surprised me, given that mostly all women gain weight after their pregnancies. I drove like an old woman when Miles was in the car with me, and I don't apologize for it. The horns of passerbys and people bent in road rage affected me none. The sounds of her playing with the little stuffed animals on her chair sent me into dreams. Everything she did blew my mind. I was always surprised by her. On top of it all, today was her 4-month birthday, born on March 24th. I planned an evening with Grandma, along with tons of hugs and kisses. Every day with her has been like that. When she got her shots at 3 months, I cried more than she did. I bought a whole nursery for her, and she's never slept a day in it. She's always by my side. How am I ever going to get over you? Miles, I love you. Mommy loves you, I sang to her from the front seat. She caught my voice and looked at me, her light eyes and rosy cheeks like a doll baby. I smiled to myself, telling myself, "You're a good mother, Isha." Oh, wrong name. You're a good mother, Ia, a very good mother. As we made the 45-minute drive to Stanford from I-84 to Route 7, all the way down into Richfield, Wilton, and Norwalk, and into I-95 to Stanford, I did think about Waldo more than I usually do. But that happened every time I got close to Stanford. I think about the 1,001 places I'd have run into him. I had took Lisa's advice and threw my phone away that next day after he called me. I hadn't spoken to him since. My own person didn't want to talk to him or have anything to do with him at all. But my little angel was a different part of my life, aside the terrible years I spent with her father. There was all kinds of traffic when I got to Stanford. The highway, the streets. There were lines to get to street lights just to get into more lines. When I got to Lisa's, she was all too happy to see me, mostly to see Amila. Her son Jason came out behind her. He was home from rehab. Lisa introduced us and we hugged. "So you're the Ia my mother can't stop talking about?" With a slight grin on his face. "The one and only," I answered, laughing. I was proud of myself. I no longer wore my hair in ponytails thanks to bi-weekly trips to the hairdresser. My hair had been straightened to the likes of arrows from the root to the ends. Apart from my widow's peak to the middle of my hair, the rest hung more than 5 inches past my shoulders. My orange and white sundress and sandals showed a 360 from the person who stayed here 1 year ago. Okay, so I got a minute 30. I unhooked Amila from her seat and handed her to Lisa, who couldn't stop talking to her and holding her hand. Not paying attention, I followed her into the house, leaving my car door open and purse inside. I walked back outside and grabbed my purse and closed the back door. My phone began to ring. It was my mom telling me to meet her at her house instead. This nervousness crept back in like something was wrong. I paid it no mind and went inside. Jason was drinking a beer, sitting at the kitchen table. Lisa was standing by the sink with Amila. Okay, well, we're going to stop here, and I'm going to probably pick up the rest of this tomorrow. But this is about 13 stories to this book. Again, it is a hood story, but I love a good hood story. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.